The story of the Queen of Sheba's visit to King Solomon is one of the most renowned biblical stories and has led to speculations concerning probable ties between the Gypsies and India. These talks have been prompted by the possibility that the Gypsies originated in India. The Bible states that the Queen of Sheba presented Solomon with gold, spices, and valuable stones when she visited him. 1 Kings 10:1-13. Rather than in India, other people believe that Sheba was situated in the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula, maybe in the region that is now known as Yemen or Ethiopia. Suppose you've ever been curious about the origin of the Indians. You will find this video interesting because it will answer some thought-provoking questions about the origin of the Gypsy people as well, according to the Bible. Let's get started. According to the Vedic scriptures, also known as the Vedas, which are ancient Indian holy books, it is said that the Indus civilization faced and fought against a people named Desha, who was described as having a black complexion. The darker skin tones of the indigenous peoples of India are a telltale sign that they are descendants of Noah's sons, especially Ham. This may be deduced from the fact that the natives of India had a darker complexion. It is generally agreed that the people who now live in southern India have a Hamitic descent, and that this should be regarded as the origin of the Indian people. To put it another way, the ancestry of Indians may be traced back to the Hamitic people. This is obvious from the color of their skin. Nevertheless, there is also a significant admixture with a race of people with fair complexion who called themselves Aryans. These humans are probably descended from Japheth, who had light-colored complexion and light-colored eyes, and they first appeared approximately 3,700 years ago. This Japanese tribe is also responsible for the genesis of other peoples. Because of the interbreeding between the Japhethite and Hamitic people, India became divided into racial lines. As a result of this mixing of races, the northern part of the country was populated by people with lighter complexion and either blue or green eyes. At the same time, individuals with darker skin mostly inhabited the southern part of the country. Because of the contact between these peoples, there has been significant miscegenation. Because of the widespread mixing and miscegenation in India, circa 1700 BC, it is not uncommon to come across a black lady with blue eyes when traveling around India. The light-skinned Aryan invaders who conquered India about 500 BC resulted in a mixture of Ham and Japheth in the genetic composition of subsequent generations of Indians. It is also necessary to mention the influence of Togarma, who is regarded as the father of Asians, and who had a minor share of influence in various Indian communities. Togarma's influence was small, but it is nevertheless important to highlight. Its Asian element, Togarma, may have happened before mixing Aryans with Japhethites in 1700 BC. This is suggested by the fact that many black-skinned Indians already had hair that was straighter, which is evidence of its origin. The naturally dark complexion of native Indians is evidence that they are descended from Ham, according to certain theories. Consequently, their ancestry may be traced back to the children of Noah, most notably the Hamites. In addition, the extensive intermarriage of darker-skinned Hamites with lighter-skinned Aryan peoples was a major contributor to the establishment of India. The northern portion of India has a brown, white, and yellow complexion population. At the same time, the southern region is populated by people with darker tones and darker-skinned Hamites. The history of the native Indians has been dissected in great detail. Now that we have that out of the way, let's speak about the history of one of the populations that shares a great deal of genetic makeup with the indigenous Indians, the Gypsy people. The Bible includes several tales and descriptions of other cultures and peoples, including allusions to groups sometimes linked with the Roma or Gypsy people and the Indian subcontinent. In addition, it contains references to groups that have sometimes been identified with the people of the Indian subcontinent. Nevertheless, it is important to approach these allusions with prudence and a comprehension of the historical context in which they were created. Many theories have been proposed throughout the centuries on where the Gypsies originally came from. Where exactly did they originate? Egypt, Persia, Morocco, Romania, Albania, maybe even the Ottoman Empire? The word gypsy does not appear anywhere in the Bible in an unqualified sense. Instead, several academics have hypothesized that the allusions made in the Bible to certain communities may have contributed to the widespread misunderstandings and prejudices about the Roma people. For instance, some people have suggested that certain chapters in the Book of 1 Kings, such as the one about the Queen of Sheba's visit to King Solomon, might cause misunderstandings. Sheba is sometimes mistakenly confused with the country of Ethiopia in modern times, which contributed to the early misconceptions that existed around this part of Africa. The history of origin for the Roma people, more often known as Gypsies, is convoluted and the subject of much discussion. They are thought to have arrived in Europe, the Middle East, and other areas of the globe after migrating from northern India roughly 1,000 years ago. After this, they expanded across the rest of the world. The term, the Romani, often refers to the Roma people, who have their own unique culture, language, and customs, none of which are directly connected to the tales found in the Bible. There are several allusions to the Indian subcontinent in the Bible, albeit more oblique. For instance, the fact that the Old Testament of the Bible refers to spices, ivory, and precious stones implies that there was commerce between the Indian subcontinent and the Middle East. There is a lot of evidence that points to King Solomon establishing trade relationships with India and other faraway countries. This enigmatic tribe eventually settled in several places around Europe. Despite being nomadic, Brazil, Turkey, and Egypt are among the countries. For a great many years, the origin of this group of people remained shrouded in mystery. Few people were aware of their true place of origin. Romani is a spoken language of the Gypsies. There is no written form since it lacks a writing system. In addition, a significant number of Gypsy customs included erasing the past and even destroying historical documents, which made it much more difficult to determine where these practices originated. Several hypotheses and speculations were put out regarding the place from which these people came, but all were shrouded in controversy. Nonetheless, starting in the 18th century, Europeans started studying Roma languages, particularly Romani, more systematically. They concluded that the language spoken by European Gypsies belonged to both the Aryan and Indo-European branches of the language family tree. These findings assist in illuminating the history of the Roma people and where they came from. Researchers in linguistics concluded that the Romani language was part of the Indo-European language family. This family of languages includes languages spoken in India and Persia, among other places. This indicates that the main origin of Roma people is in North India, where varieties of the Indian language are spoken. Due to the nomadic character of the Roma people and the fact that they moved from nation to nation and state to state throughout time, Romani gradually became mixed up with other languages. This movement resulted in encounters with other peoples, such as the Persians and Arabs, who regularly migrated from one place to another. Because of this, the Gypsies integrated aspects of other people's cultures into their own. For instance, there are Gypsies in Turkey, Egypt, and other neighboring locations. Although there has been some interbreeding with Persians and Arabs in these areas, this interbreeding has been quite minor and is not predominant. The origin of the Gypsy is still considered to be North Indian, which indicates that they are in fact an Indian people who intermarried with Persians and Arabs before settling in Europe, including the Iberian Peninsula and in other European areas before arriving in Brazil, which is home to a large number of Gypsies. The Ram, the Kalan, and the Sindhi are the three primary groupings or branches that may be found among the Gypsy community. Although there are earlier indications of Gypsies in ancient Persian manuscripts, the earliest document to be published in which they are mentioned was in 1426. It is thought that the Gypsies migrated to northern India when the soldiers of Sultan Mahmud Ghazni invaded the territories where they lived. The reason for this is unknown at this time. There are various Gypsy or Roma communities in the United States that are dispersed around the nation. In fact, a study points out that there are more than 13 in total. These settlements comprise many Roma groups and clans, each with its own distinct tradition, language, and history. One of the most well-known and influential Roma communities in the United States is the Roma, commonly known simply as the Roma. They were originally from North India, but have since moved to other regions of the globe. The Romani language, culture, and customs have been preserved by the Roma population in the United States over many centuries. The United States is home to several distinct Gypsy groups and tribes, each of which may be found in a particular region. Each of these tribes has its own unique history, customs, and cultural identities, all contributing to the racial and cultural variety across the nation. For instance, the first Roma to settle in Brazil, now one of the nations with the greatest communities, were the Kailan, a group of around 574 people who originated in Portugal and Spain. Then, following the end of World War II, the Sindhi people from Germany and the Roma people from Turkey arrived in Greece. As a result, the descent of Japheth is considered the biblical origin of the Gypsies. This is because Gypsies came straight from northern India, where the people had lighter skin tones. However, they also have their Hamitic origin, which explains why many Gypsy people have darker skin tones. This implies that they are of Hamitic descent, meaning they are offspring of both Japheth and Ham, regardless of how light or dark their skin is. According to the Bible, here is where both Indians and Gypsies started as a people group. Remember to subscribe to our channel if you found this content valuable, and we'll see you in the next one.